Hello there. Welcome to this Reframing Tarot reading. What we're going to do is we're going to work with the negative belief or thought that people dislike me. If you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more, I encourage you to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. This is the Reframing Reading type, which is available on my website, and it's designed to work with and target specific negative thoughts to sort of find a new frame, a new perspective on these thoughts to disempower them. So if you resonate with the thought, people dislike me, then this reading is for you, and hopefully it's going to help you put the experience in a different light. I'm going to go ahead and give the cards a little bit of a shuffle. And while I do, I would like you to make a connection with this thought. If you are already in this sort of headspace, let me put this here. It's a jumping card for you. If you're already in this headspace, then just breathe into it. Just accept it. Make a connection with it. It's just a thought. It cannot harm you. And we are here to work on it. So no worries. We're going to work through this together. So the first card is going to represent the idea, the thought, in its raw form, how it presents naturally in your mind. People dislike me. Next is the effect of this negative thought. What kind of effect does it have on your mood, on your ego, on your self-confidence, on your general state of well-being? What does it do? Okay. Next is the reframed version of the same thought. What is the new perspective that you can have on the same thought? And this new reframed version of the original assumption or negative belief, how does that affect you? What does that do? Okay. So, let's have a look. Let's first see the jumping card. A little bit of a message for you. Just starting out, giving you some guidance right off the bat. The Magician. The Magician is a major arcana card. It's number 1. It's the second in the sequence of major arcana cards, because the first one is the Fool. And the Magician speaks to the power that your will has over physical reality. So this is a reminder that although in certain situations when we lose track or we lose our connection with our innate power, it seems impossible to affect change in our lives. But this is a reminder that ultimately all of this is a mind over matter situation. The principle is there. It's all about believing and accepting that even though it might seem as though your limitations are physical in appearance or somehow unchangeable, external, the deep spiritual truth of it is that you have a way around it. You've been given this power just by virtue of being a human being, to be sort of like a magician, to create an illusion for yourself and for others. And even if you're not consciously doing it, you might be creating an illusion. And what can be done here is fine-tuning or adjusting the magic that you've already been doing. So that's just a little starting point here. Okay. So let's see the card that represents the thought in and of itself as it presents in your mind right now. That's the Six of Cups. The effect that it has, the Star in reverse, the reframed version, the Three of Wands, and the effect that it has on you is the Devil. All right. So this really is a process of reclaiming your power. With the Six of Cups as the current expression of this thought, people dislike me, we're seeing a sort of entrapment in childhood. It is during our childhoods that we learn to pay attention to how other people respond to us. There's an emotional dependency during our younger years that is necessarily connected with a sense of or the idea of survival. If we're not emotionally harmonizing with others, if we're not receiving the appropriate feedback, then that signals to us that we will not be taken care of, that we will be rejected, and rejection is ultimately the worst, most traumatic thing that can happen. And what the Six of Cups is expressing here, I think, is the codependency, the lack of initiative, the reactiveness of this thought. People dislike me. It's a fact. It's an external entity almost, that it's just a given that we have no power over, but that which has all the influence over us. It's also somewhat of a naive thought, in the sense that it works with categories that perhaps are not really pertinent to actual adult reality. Think about those times when you have disliked someone First of all, was the feeling momentary? Was it something that has changed? Was it in any way important to you? Or was it just a fleeting impression? Think about all those times when you disliked someone. How significant was that to you as compared to the feeling of being disliked? So try to compare those two states of mind, or those two emotional states. First of all, how often do you dislike someone? I think it's probably pretty rare. If not, then that could be one of the root causes of why this thought is resonating with you so much, because it's reflecting it back to you. But otherwise, think about how lenient and how forgiving you are with most people, and how the idea of actively disliking someone and that sentiment filling your consciousness, how rare that is, how rare of an occurrence that is in the adult world. When you flip it, statistically, it's probably not very common that you are disliked either. It's an anomaly. The decisive or the most dominant feeling that you have towards others is either slightly positive, if you are that kind of person who is giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, or simply neutral. Think about most people in your life. Most people you meet, acquaintances, even people who you are on a day-to-day basis in contact with. Probably the predominant factor or the predominant sentiment is neutrality. At any rate, the feeling or the thought of people dislike me, it creates a regression. It takes you back to childhood, and the effect, the star reversed, it's detrimental to your self-confidence, and it creates a narrative in which you are a sort of like a nuisance, an insignificant factor. The star upright, which is a beautiful major arcana card, is all about having those positive feelings of belonging, hope, faith, and general sense of optimism. And this natural sense of self-confidence that, by the way, children have very often, up until the point they are shamed for who they are. So once a child is being shamed by peers or adults, the significance, the uniqueness that they have previously connected with, it's lost. And the star in reverse represents that fall from grace, represents that that feeling that I'm not important, I'm not acknowledged, I'm ignored, I am not in any way special to anybody. and I am not a special being on this earth. And those types of feelings and thoughts, they are deeply painful. And they are, I think, at the core of the discomfort that being disliked creates. Now let's think about it this way, and I think I've mentioned this to you about the statistical chance of being disliked by someone. I think it's probably really low. If you want to do a thorough research on this in your own life, you can start to list all the people that you are in connection with right now, and mark those people who you actively dislike. Not people who you dislike on certain days, but people who you dislike on the regular. People for whom there's a constant dislike in your heart. And I think you will find that there are only maybe a few on the list, if any. So when you think of it that way, if you are being actively disliked by someone, that in fact could be a point of uniqueness in a strange and contorted way. So paradoxically, when you feel this sense of being disliked, it takes away from your uniqueness, as we've seen. But in reality, if it's true, if it really is there, if the dislike is really there, then that's a special occurrence. It doesn't happen very often. So maybe that could reinforce your feeling of specialness. Wow, this person is actively disliking me. There is something there. I might be reflecting back something to them that is so peculiar, so unusual to them that they cannot help but go to that place, that very unusual place in their mind, and dislike me. So that's just a side note on that. Now, the thing about being disliked is that you may try to adjust your behavior and your personality in response to the fear of being disliked. But I can guarantee to you that those things that you're changing, people might not even notice them, and they probably don't matter at all. And the things that do matter, you have no power over. The Three of Wands, as the reframed version of this thought, people dislike me, is that the dislike that you are perceiving to be true, it might not even be there in the first place. And if it is, it's unavoidable. The Three of Wands represents the big picture. It's when you zoom out and you take a look at the whole context, everything that is happening. Being disliked from this perspective is an arbitrary event that holds no relevance to what is going on, because it's not something that you can forego. It's not something that you can actively change. What you can change is your perception of it. If I'm being disliked in this moment, and if that's true, if these people or this person is harboring these feelings, without even really knowing me, because I think that's probably the biggest fear, being disliked by strangers, when you think about it. If this is really going on, it's all part of this big puzzle, of which their feeling is just a very tiny puzzle piece. And for me to focus on that makes no sense. It's an arbitrary event. It bears no relevance to my path. And I will be the way I am no matter what. Of course, minor adjustments can be made if people express that they are annoyed by something that you're doing. And when this is, a bulk expression of that feeling, and it is verbalized, it's made very clear to you, when there are clear instructions on what you need to change, when there's a pathway presented to you to acceptance, and that's a realistic pathway, then that's a different story. But more often than not, when we go to this place in our minds thinking people dislike me, it's nothing more than picking up on some clues that might not even have any relevance. When people dislike you for a reason, you will know. You will know because it will make sense. If people dislike you for the way you look, for your flaws that you cannot help, for idiosyncrasies, for quirks that you cannot control, it's too bad for them, because you are the flame that is expressed in this body, in this earthly form, this spirit. It's the unique expression of reality. Your personality, your character, the form that you've taken on this earth. And there's no way of changing that. You can try to mask it, you can try to camouflage it, but ultimately, what's the point? On the other hand, if people come to you very respectfully saying, when you do this and that, it hurts me, it annoys me, and I would like you to stop. And if there are multiple people telling you the same thing, then there really need to be some adjustments. But the thing is, that is not dislike. That's when people draw a boundary with you. So we're talking about two very different things here. So it's important to be clear that there's no good reason to be disliked. People that you dislike, perhaps they remind you of someone, perhaps they give you the wrong vibe. It's difficult to break it down. It's just a feeling. It's an impression that you get about them. It's not rational. If you think about it, might just rub you the wrong way for some reason. So, what is the point of responding to something that is completely irrational? The devil is expressing the freedom and the ingenuity that goes into exploring your true authentic self, even in situations where you're kind of getting the sense that you're being disliked. Whether that's true or not is besides the point. But the devil is suggesting that once you embrace that the you-ness of your experience, this unique combination of characteristics and behaviors and forms of expression, that's a process. It's not even a thing. And it's unfolding moment to moment as it should. Accepting that in a radical way and going with it gives you an almost otherworldly power. The devil is suggesting that you can grow some stubbornness here. It is actually encouraged that you go against the grain, that you create and invite internal resistance when this feeling comes. And once you realize that being disliked, or rather this perception that you're being disliked because you have no evidence for the actual sentiment. You cannot see another person's heart, how they really feel about you. Once you realize that this is an organic part of life, that this is going on no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many new behaviors you adopt, how many efforts you make to change your appearance, perhaps. The sense of being disliked is always going to be there, and it's fine, because it doesn't mean anything. The problem is that perhaps you're holding on to it because you feel like it holds some important message, that there's something to do here. There's nothing else to do other than accept yourself. Allow yourself to be wrong. Allow yourself to make mistakes and to present how you are and who you are at all times. I hope that you found this reading interesting or useful. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and check out the description for the details on how you can book a reading with me.